with many times more accuracy than these big so-called computer models, because he focuses on gravitational waves, and he goes back to the multi-hundred-year-old science where the old-timers didn't know why, but it was connected to the moon changing, and they didn't know what the action was then. They just knew that when the moon was in certain cycles, it was doing certain things. Now they know that it's the moon causing different gravitational events, but also shielding the Earth, or exposing the Earth more to the solar winds of different ionizing particles. So there's a lot of things within the Earth, without the Earth, that are driving weather, the science shows, more than what mainline global warming type kook scientists say. And they know this too. They just want to ignore it and claim that humans exhaling carbon dioxide is causing it. So A, what is HAARP really? B, I've seen the reports that there are really HAARP centers all over the world. They just call them other things. And then C, could this be connected to the increase in earthquakes?
It could be. Let's go for the first thing. There are many facilities that have phased arrays, radio frequency transmitters designed like HAARP. HAARP is the acronym for this specific project, but these arrays exist in several locations around the world, including the former Soviet Union, Canada, throughout Europe. The Chinese even have one at Antarctica. So, that it's pretty widespread in terms of that. The technology and what HAARP is designed for is manipulating the ionosphere, changing this layer above the Earth's surface that is so responsible in large part for the quality and character of communications, for the fact that we have biological life even on this planet. And using energy essentially as the base of this system to alter the geophysics of the planet, the things that actually make the planet run and work. So think about it as sort of a man-made component shoved on the machine of Earth to change its character in certain respects and the way it works, using energy itself. And so when you think about sort of the direction in which this science has taken us, it's not just about HAARP. It's this whole revolution in military affairs. And I know you've talked to your audience about before. This RMA includes a whole class of weapons and technologies, of which HAARP is really just a very small part. It's just the one part that happens to have gotten a good bit of notoriety, because we sort of attacked that as one very fine example of where this technology is going. And more importantly, it is the largest radio transmitter of its kind ever designed and built in the world, and it presents huge challenges, particularly in the areas we're talking about today.
And of course, when we talk about this only being one component, we look at things like the Hadron Superconducting Super Collider, and just like 10, 15 years ago, they'd make fun of us if we even said HAARP existed. Now it's common knowledge. I read what the directors of Hadron have said. They've admitted, yeah, there's a small probability that this could create a strangelet, or that a black hole could get purchased and actually get enough mass into it, but it's a low probability. But then that makes me go back to the 1950s and 60s, where the U.S. was detonating high-powered hydrogen bombs in the upper atmosphere, and they thought there was a good chance it might actually destroy the atmosphere, but they still did it. So when I see statements like that, I mean, I know there's no way to quantify it, but I mean, just from a layman, this looks like this could really damage the planet, or even destroy our civilization.
Right. Well, this is, again, where science kind of moves on and sort of forgets the rest of us in the background, as if we didn't exist. And a lot of scientists are very incensed when lay people, the average person, starts to weigh in on their issues. They feel like it's sort of their exclusive domain and no one else is qualified. And the reality is, when you talk about effects of technologies, we're all qualified to weigh in. We may not be the engineers or designers, but that should not matter. And in this century, what we're doing with this technology is either going to make us free or make us slaves. And
we all should have a debate and have input on that. Stay there. Let's get into Hadron. Let's get into other advanced technologies that you're concerned about. I also want to ask the question, why are so many of these HAARP programs, the Chinese and others, why are they near the poles? What's important about that?
Is it really possible to get out of debt without payment plans or attorneys? 18 years ago, we developed a program that has made thousands debt-free in just 90 days. It's called Zero Debt in 90 Days, and it works for all credit card debt, medical bills, even collection lawsuits.
When I first joined, I was being sued. So I used the program methods, and after filing one piece of paper, the collection lawsuit was dismissed.
With Zero Debt in 90 days, your success is guaranteed in writing. There is no other program of its kind. Don't be alone when creditors gang up on you. Let our team of experts provide the resources to fight back and stop creditors in only 90 days, guaranteed. Prevent wage garnishments, bank levies, and stop collection calls with our proven program. Call Zero Debt in 90 days now, 800-477-9256, and ask for free information from an expert who also completed our program. 800-477-9256 or ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. 800-477-9256 or ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
Folks, you've heard us talk about HomeGain before. HomeGain is now offering a special promo where you get up to $150 when you buy or sell a home with a HomeGain agent you find through their Find a Realtor program. HomeGain lets you compare realtors anonymously. It's easy. Go to HomeGain150.com to find and compare realtors anonymously. Enter promo code HomeGain150 and receive up to $150 when you close a deal with a HomeGain agent. Share the HomeGain150 promo code with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, text, and more. Look for Max, the HomeGain Gorilla, to find out more about how HomeGain is going to pay you. Visit HomeGain150.com today to enter your promo code and get paid for buying or selling a house. That's HomeGain150.com.
Fight back this cold and flu season with the world's best garlic extract, Ali C. Why Ali C? Because it helps your body fight viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Ali C has been scientifically proven in double-blind studies using low doses to greatly reduce the number, severity, and duration of common colds. Ali C contains 300 milligrams of stabilized allicin, the active ingredient in crushed garlic. Studies show Ali C is effective against MRSA, bacterial, fungal, and viral infections. One tablet of Ali C has the equivalent of 40 cloves of garlic. Ali C supports your body's resistance to all types of conditions and can help lower high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So boost your body's resistance to infection with nature's best garlic extract, Ali C. For more information and to order Ali C, call 877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com. That's 1-877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com for your Ali C today.
Well, the unions are big businessmen, and they're going out like a dinosaur. Well, they used to grow food in Kansas, then they want to grow it on the moon and eat it raw. I can see the day coming when even your home gardener's gonna be against the
Dr.
law.
Begich doesn't put on airs, but he's been an expert to the European Union Parliament. He, of course, has been the president of both the Alaskan Federation of Teachers and the Anchorage City Council of Education. And I can get into his doctorate all day. His brother is a U.S. Senator. His father was was Nick Begich Sr. This is a short segment, long segment coming up. But, Doc, getting back into this, what are your concerns overall with something like the Hadron Superconducting Super Collider And are there other technologies and other scientific operations that you're more concerned about?
Well, the risks associated with big science, is there, and they even identified. I mean, the idea of creating a catastrophic event with this type of technology, again, this is why we need a little closer scrutiny, and I am actually more concerned about the things that we don't see. I mean, what we see in the open literature is certainly hair-raising in some cases and pretty disturbing in others. But what we do know is that the direction in which the technologies have moved is really more about how do you affect biological systems like human beings and other systems in a way where you can literally manipulate the players. I mean, when you think about military interventions, and we're looking at it right now. You look at our budget on the rebuild on countries after we go in and annihilate them. It's pretty costly expense, and a lot of this is based on the idea that, hey, is there a better way? Is there a way to affect the human beings without tearing up their infrastructure so we have to rebuild it? And there is, and it's this direction in technologies that allows that possibility. And the difference is when you start to target the human being in this way, it is much, much different than bombs and bullets, and starts to raise the bigger kinds of questions of, what's rational. I mean, we've said biological and chemical weapons are immoral, and yet weapons that affect in a much more profound way than chemicals aren't even restricted at all. And this, I think, is critically important, is the reactions of chemicals or chemical constituents that were so appalling in World War I have been replaced by electronic systems that essentially deliver the same kind of effects. So we're not talking about a different outcome. We're just talking about a different delivery system.
And to simplify it, you're talking about mind control, and I've seen the patents that you've covered. Right. I've looked at them at the patent office. I've seen articles in the Baltimore Sun where it goes, oh, DARPA's looking at putting up towers to calm you during emergencies. And, and I mean, just like 10, 15 years ago, they'd make fun of us talking about HAARP. Now it's mainstream. Now more and more, they're like, we are going to put cameras everywhere to make sure that are AI and make sure you're behaving yourself in your house. We are going to mind control you. This is a brave new world. And so you talk about, for whatever bit of technology we see, there's an iceberg beneath that. Right. I mean, how much of this stuff do we even know about, Doc?
Very, very little, actually. What you see in the open literature is just a fragment, a grain of sand on the beach of knowledge, if you will. There's just so much more out there. When you look at the area of any of the areas that we've covered, from mind effects to weather effects, we've been covering them now over 15 years and consistently, and this is the true test, in my opinion. You go back to our original writings in 1994, and nothing has changed. You can look through those articles, those books, the materials we've produced, and we have not changed our opinion one iota. The facts that we identified then and the sources that we reference them, primarily government, military, and mainstream documents that were unclassified, nothing has happened to change our opinions, only to prove that we were correct. And you've experienced the same thing in a lot of your work. And the mainstream does eventually catch up, but usually it's sort of when the train has left the station and is already arriving somewhere else. That's where we are on this technology. And again, the idea of affecting weather systems, of affecting other forms of living organisms, including, the latest thing with the birds. Now we hear another situation in Louisiana, very similar to what was in Arkansas.
Europe.
Yep. And so there was a very interesting study, and this gets back to, people want to blame the chemistry. And I was in a conference in Brussels. It was a closed conference for a group called GLOBE, which is 44 governments, legislators. And in their 12th General Assembly in 1997, I attended, and the people that we were lecturing with on the other side was a group that had just written a book on chemicals creating false hormones in the environment. And I was talking with the guys from MIT and from Washington that were responsible for that, and the overlay is energy itself, because it triggers very bizarre chemical reactions.
That's right. Instead of putting chemicals in you, they can use harmonics or waves to make you produce it yourself. Stay there, Doctor. We'll be right back.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last